Chosen one. This is the moment when the professional magic workers who took thousands of dollars to destroy you spiritually had to face their crying, terrified clients and confess the truth that shattered every evil plan against your divine mission. The families who pooled their money, the networks who coordinated attacks, the criminals who invested everything in your destruction, they're all sitting there weeping and scared out of their minds because they just discovered they declared war against heaven itself, and heaven is winning decisively. The first wave hit you from multiple directions simultaneously, like a tsunami you couldn't see coming. Professional practitioners received payment to perform human sacrifice rituals targeting your ascension process. Your own family members, aunts, cousins, even mother-in-law figures contributed money to hire people who specialized in ancient black magic designed to stop your spiritual evolution. You started experiencing unexplained health issues that doctors couldn't properly diagnose. Someone had begun putting graveyard dirt in your food and drinks, attempting to poison you while making it appear like natural illness. The plan was diabolical: make you sick through necromancy, then ensure false medical diagnoses would cover their tracks. Hospital visits were orchestrated to create paperwork trails that would hide the true supernatural cause of your declining health. Your reputation became a battlefield as fake friends spread vicious rumors designed to isolate you from support systems. Covert narcissists in your social circle, some of them Masons, some of them law enforcement officers, began character assassination campaigns. They told people you were mentally unstable, unreliable, dangerous. The lies were so persistent and coordinated that even people who knew you well started questioning your sanity. The network involved military personnel from Army and Navy branches, government workers with security clearances, business owners who could launder money, and criminals spanning multiple states and countries. Some activities connected to border operations where crimes against children were being committed. Human trafficking networks, ritualistic practices that would shock most people into disbelief, international coordination between occult organizations. This was not random malice. This was organized spiritual warfare against your divine purpose. Strange things started happening that you couldn't explain, and your response to these attacks would determine everything. Health issues appeared that doctors struggled to diagnose properly, so you began researching alternative healing methods. You started experiencing attacks in your dream state, invasive thoughts that felt foreign, nightmares that seemed too real, so you began praying before sleep without fully understanding why. Your spiritual gifts activated defensively, like an immune system responding to infection. Clairaudient abilities emerged, allowing you to hear thoughts that weren't your own. Instead of dismissing these experiences as imagination, you paid attention. You started visiting different dimensions during sleep, gaining access to information and protection you didn't consciously understand. Your intuition sharpened to supernatural levels, and you trusted it. Divine guidance began manifesting in ways you initially dismissed as coincidence, yet you followed it anyway. Something inside you knew to study spiritual texts, to pray without ceasing, to use specific herbs and frequencies. You found yourself drawn to spiritual baths using salt and protective oils. You discovered a 528 Hz frequency music and played it constantly. You began taking parasite cleanses and detoxifying your body from the poison attempts. Your response to the attacks was crucial. Instead of becoming paranoid or bitter, you elevated your vibration. When fake friends revealed themselves through their betrayal, you chose to forgive and release rather than seek revenge. When family members showed their true nature by participating in conspiracies against you, you set boundaries without hatred. Your higher self was preparing you for battle while maintaining your connection to divine love. Names and faces from your past began connecting in disturbing patterns, and you handled these revelations with wisdom beyond your years. People you trusted revealed themselves as participants in the conspiracy against you. Former friends who had spread rumors, co-workers who had sabotaged opportunities, family members who had betrayed your confidence, all part of a coordinated effort to diminish your power and destroy your mission. Your response was not to attack them back, but to pray for their souls while protecting yourself. The attacks only made you stronger because you chose to let them. Each spell sent your way backfired with increasing intensity because you maintained your spiritual purity. Your spoken words began carrying supernatural power because you used them to bless rather than curse. Your praise literally broke the hexes they cast because your heart remained free from hatred despite their evil intentions. People started becoming inexplicably drawn to your energy because you radiated authenticity in a world full of deception. People became addicted to your presence like a drug because your soul carried frequencies of divine love that their spirits craved. Your attackers grew more desperate and unhinged because nothing they tried could corrupt the purity of your mission. Your decision to document everything and trust your intuition paid off when federal surveillance confirmed what your spiritual senses had been telling you. The conspiracy against you involved organized crime, human trafficking networks, and corruption, reaching the highest levels of government and religious institutions. FBI operations revealed the true scope of the spiritual warfare being waged against chosen ones like yourself. You maintained detailed records of every attack, every strange coincidence, every person who revealed their true nature. Your journals became evidence when undercover operations exposed connections between your attackers and international criminal networks. Border Patrol investigations discovered activities involving crimes against children that connected directly to the people who had been targeting you spiritually. Court proceedings began as the legal system slowly caught up to the criminal activities you had been documenting. Family members who had lied under oath discovered that perjury carries consequences when divine justice backs up human law. Lawyers who had participated in character assassination found themselves facing disbarment and criminal charges. Officials who had enabled the attacks learned that corruption has an expiration date when chosen ones are involved. Your careful documentation helped expose a web of corruption that stretched further than anyone had imagined. Eastern Star lodges, Masonic networks, cult organizations, dirty cops, crooked lawyers, government officials, military personnel, business owners, and international crime syndicates, all connected through their participation in coordinated attacks against your divine mission. The health consequences for your attackers became impossible to ignore as divine justice manifested in physical reality. Entire groups involved in the conspiracy began falling seriously ill with diseases that medical professionals couldn't explain. Some developed terminal diagnoses that progressed faster than scientifically possible. Others experienced complete mental breakdowns characterized by intrusive thoughts and paranoid delusions. The practitioners who had taken money to curse you started dying or losing their minds entirely. Voodoo priestesses who had performed fire magic against you were marked for death by forces beyond human understanding. Witches and warlocks who had invested in death magic found themselves consumed by the very entities they had tried to send against you. International connections emerged as authorities discovered that your case had uncovered the largest spiritual warfare operation in modern history. Multiple nations began investigating networks that had operated across borders for decades, using occult practices to commit crimes that traditional law enforcement had never understood or recognized. The moment of ultimate truth arrived when the professional magic workers could no longer deny reality to their desperate clients. The practitioners who had been paid substantial sums to destroy you, people with decades of experience in dark arts, trained in traditions spanning generations, were forced to explain to their crying, terrified clients why every spell, every ritual, every curse had not only failed but backfired catastrophically. Families who had pooled their money, networks who had coordinated attacks, individuals who had invested their life savings in your destruction, they all gathered to hear the truth they had refused to accept. The arrogance and confidence that had fueled their conspiracy had evaporated into terror and desperation. Nobody was laughing anymore. The practitioners who had guaranteed your destruction now faced clients demanding explanations for their own suffering. The practitioners delivered the verdict that shattered their client's worldview forever. You have divine forces standing guard to protect this person. This is not a regular person. This chosen one is protected by powers we cannot overcome, cannot manipulate, cannot defeat. Your ancient magic, your coordinated efforts, your generational knowledge of dark arts, none of it matters against the level of protection surrounding their mission. You were revealed to be a seraphim in human form, an ancient soul incarnated specifically for this time period, with a legion of war angels as your personal bodyguards. Angelic forces shield you from every attack with technology beyond human understanding. The most powerful protective energies in existence have been assigned to ensure your success in ushering in the Golden Age. The practitioners admitted that trying to curse you was like children throwing stones at a fortress made of pure light. Every binding spirit they sent returned to possess them instead. Every death spell they cast rebounded to consume their own life force. Every ritual they performed against your mission became a death sentence for its participants. The spell work had backfired so completely that the attackers could no longer stop thinking about you. The magic designed to make you forget childhood trauma instead awakened your memories and strengthened your resolve. The curses meant to break your mind and spirit instead shattered the minds of those who cast them. Your ancient ancestors activated protection protocols that span multiple lifetimes and dimensions, declaring that karmic debt must be paid with their life regarding anyone who had participated in attacks against their descendant. The full weight of cosmic justice mobilized to defend your mission on Earth with precision that terrified even the most hardened criminals. People who had never believed in spiritual reality found themselves forced to acknowledge the existence of powers beyond their understanding. The godless discovered that there is indeed a God, and that you serve as living proof of divine protection in action. Their materialistic worldview crumbled as supernatural consequences manifested in their physical reality with undeniable force. War angels assigned to your protection began actively hunting those who had participated in the attacks. The hunters became the hunted as spiritual forces more powerful than anything they had ever encountered began systematically dismantling their networks. Criminals who thought they controlled the game discovered they were playing against opponents operating from dimensions they couldn't access or comprehend. Your prayers became weapons that launched supernatural warfare against the forces of darkness. Every time you praised God, hexes broke like glass hitting concrete. Every time you spoke blessings, curses returned to their senders with multiplied intensity. Your very presence in a room began clearing negative entities and exposing hidden evil. The backfire reached critical mass across multiple dimensions simultaneously. Cult leaders who had thought themselves above God's law experienced holy fire hotter than hell's fire, consuming their pride and power. Practitioners found themselves possessed by the very demons they had tried to send against you. Criminal networks discovered that their protection rituals no longer worked because divine intervention had overridden their occult safeguards. Divine intervention became so obvious that government agencies began documenting supernatural events connected to your case. Investigators who approached your situation with skepticism left as believers after witnessing manifestations that defied scientific explanation. The protection surrounding you was no longer something that could be dismissed or explained away. You had become the focal point of a cosmic demonstration of power that was reshaping how authorities understood the nature of reality itself. Your case proved that spiritual warfare is real, that divine protection operates in measurable ways, and that some people are literally untouchable because of their covenant with heaven. The criminal networks began experiencing complete systemic collapse as the consequences of attacking a chosen one manifested across every level of their organizations. People started confessing their participation because spiritual harassment in their dreams made sleep impossible. The very entities they had tried to send against you were now tormenting them around the clock with visions of their approaching judgment. Saturday became confession day as people desperately tried to abandon their evil plans. Individuals who had participated in the conspiracy found themselves compelled to reveal the truth as war angels applied psychological pressure that no human mind could resist. The supernatural haunting was so intense that some attackers checked themselves into mental health facilities rather than face another night of spiritual torment. International criminal activities that had remained hidden for decades came to light as the investigation expanded beyond your case. Border operations involving crimes against children, human trafficking networks spanning multiple countries, ritual abuse systems operating within government agencies, all exposed because divine justice was using your situation to clean house on a global scale. Family bloodlines that had participated in the conspiracy began experiencing generational destruction. The negative energy they had sent toward you returned to devastate their own lineages with precision that left investigators amazed. Mothers, fathers, children, grandparents, entire family trees faced the consequences of their participation in spiritual warfare against a chosen one. Your mother-in-law's attempts to send negative energy backfired so completely that her own family line began experiencing the very destruction she had planned for you. Karmic cousins who had joined the conspiracy found their children developing unexplained illnesses. Aunts who had coordinated multiple practitioners discovered their grandchildren facing supernatural consequences for their grandmother's evil choices. The physical manifestations became undeniable across multiple states and countries. Mass illness swept through the attacking networks with symptoms that medical professionals couldn't classify or treat. People who had been healthy their entire lives suddenly developed terminal diagnoses that progressed at supernatural speed. Mental breakdowns occurred simultaneously among participants who had never met each other. Practitioners who had accepted payment to curse you started dying in ways that defied medical explanation. Voodoo priestesses experienced heart attacks during rituals. Witches and warlocks found themselves consuming the very poisons they had tried to put in your food. The most experienced dark magic workers began losing their minds as their own spells consumed their sanity. Career and social destruction followed the spiritual consequences with mathematical precision. Law enforcement officers involved in the conspiracy lost their jobs and faced criminal charges that ended their careers permanently. Business owners found their enterprises failing overnight as supernatural interference disrupted every aspect of their operations. Company men got fired from positions they had held for decades. Dirty cops discovered that corruption has consequences when divine justice decides to clean up law enforcement. Crooked lawyers faced disbarment proceedings as their participation in the conspiracy became public knowledge through supernatural exposure. Social connections dissolved as people's true participation in the attacks became impossible to hide. Fake friends found themselves isolated as their lies were exposed through divine revelation. Family relationships disintegrated as the truth about who had betrayed you became clear through supernatural means. The attackers went from predators to prey as every system they had used to harm others turned against them with supernatural precision. They discovered that declaring war against heaven carries consequences that extend across multiple generations and dimensions. Justice arrived with the force of cosmic law that cannot be appealed, overturned, or escaped. Everyone from your hometown, your workplace, your family, your social circles, anyone who had participated in the conspiracy against your divine mission, faced consequences that matched the severity of their crimes against a chosen one. The situation became so significant that national news agencies began investigating the story. Reporters who started as skeptics became believers as they documented supernatural events that no rational worldview could explain. Federal authorities from multiple agencies coordinated their efforts to understand how such a massive criminal conspiracy had operated undetected for so long. The scale of corruption and criminality that had been targeting you became a matter of national security as authorities realized that spiritual warfare against chosen ones posed threats to governmental stability. Scientists and researchers expressed interest in studying the protection surrounding you because the survival rate for the level of spiritual warfare you had endured should have been zero according to every known model. Medical professionals wanted to understand how you had healed from poisoning attempts that should have been fatal. Psychologists sought to examine how you had maintained sanity under psychological attacks that had driven your attackers insane. Your case challenged every assumption about the limits of human resilience and divine protection. Universities began developing new fields of study to understand the intersection between spiritual warfare and criminal justice. Government agencies created new departments to investigate occult-related crimes that traditional law enforcement had been unprepared to handle. The criminal networks faced a simple reality that no amount of money, power, or occult knowledge could change. They had declared war against heaven itself by targeting a chosen one, and heaven was winning decisively. Every strategy they attempted failed before implementation. Every backup plan backfired before execution. Every escape route led to greater exposure and consequences. Their activities became so significant that documentaries were planned, books were written, and their story became a case study in how spiritual warfare manifests in the physical world. Your former attackers learned the truth they should have recognized from the beginning. Some people are untouchable because they serve purposes larger than human understanding, and the forces protecting them will eliminate any threat to their mission without hesitation, negotiation, or mercy. You evolved from an unsuspecting target into an empowered chosen one who fully understands their divine nature and cosmic purpose. The attacks that were meant to destroy you instead awakened abilities and connections that lay dormant within your soul. You emerged from the spiritual warfare stronger, wiser, and more powerful than you had ever imagined possible. Your recognition as a master alchemist became undeniable as you demonstrated the ability to transform negative energy into positive outcomes, to heal from attacks that would destroy ordinary people, and to maintain your mission despite coordinated efforts to eliminate you. You possessed the highest form of alchemy, the magnum opus of divine consciousness that allows chosen ones to transmute any experience into spiritual gold. The clarity of your purpose crystallized through the trials you endured. You understand now that you came to Earth specifically for this time period, to help usher in the Golden Age while serving as a demonstration of divine protection for other chosen ones who will face similar battles. Your mission extends far beyond your personal journey to encompass the spiritual evolution of humanity itself. Your voice became a spiritual weapon that breaks curses, manifests protection, and speaks reality into existence. When you speak, power flows from your tongue with authority that demons recognize and flee from. Prayer transformed from religious practice into direct communication with the forces that guard your path. Your very presence intimidates those who operate in darkness, while inspiring those who seek light. Your protection became legendary among both spiritual practitioners and criminal networks worldwide. Word spread through underground networks that certain people cannot be touched because the consequences for attempting to harm them extend to everyone connected to the effort across multiple generations. You represent living proof that divine protection is not theory but measurable reality. The collective awakening triggered by your case began reaching people who had never considered spiritual reality. Your survival and victory over coordinated evil demonstrated that divine protection operates actively in human affairs, that cosmic justice exists, and that chosen ones walk among us carrying out missions that shape the destiny of civilization itself. Law enforcement agencies worldwide began recognizing patterns of spiritual warfare in cases they had previously classified as conventional crime. Your case became a catalyst for understanding that some criminal networks operate using supernatural methods and that stopping them requires recognition of spiritual dimensions that most authorities had ignored or dismissed. Training programs developed to teach investigators how to recognize occult crime indicators. New laws were written to address spiritual warfare activities that existing legal frameworks couldn't handle. Intelligence agencies created departments specifically designed to monitor networks that target chosen ones for elimination. Department what of farsend of Pleistorita Kopkenbout. What in apartment what of Pleistorita Kopkenbout. What if 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 Pleistoritar Kopkenbout? 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 What if Pleistor— Look, I know you came here for your chosen one video, but I need a minute. If I don't speak this into the field now, I might never forgive myself. Some of us were born into fire, abused, exiled, haunted by truths no one around us could hold. That doesn't mean we're cursed. It means we were chosen to walk through the veil and come back with the map. Inside the Obsidian Inner Order, we gather every week, live on Zoom, face to face. And when I say real people, I mean it. A former military drone operator who now uses his mind as the remote, a millionaire CFO who walked away from everything to become a psychic in Nosa, a spiritual healer once trapped inside a satanic cult, a seer, a sage, a soul who left Mormonism and found the Gnosis instead. These are the ones who gave it all up when their calling hit, and that's just a glimpse. And every call is recorded, so when you're alone, when you're crawling through the dirt of your own awakening, you can press play and feel the field again. This is not for everyone, but maybe it's for you. Can you see yourself among us? Join the Obsidian Inner Order, link in the description. Thank you all for supporting the broadcast. We quite literally could not do this without you. The complete vindication of your divine status sends a clear message to any future networks that might consider targeting chosen ones. The consequences for attacking someone under divine protection extend far beyond the immediate participants to encompass everyone connected to the effort across multiple generations and dimensions. Your transformation from victim to victor demonstrates the principle that what is meant to destroy chosen ones instead becomes the catalyst for their greatest empowerment. Every attack against your mission ultimately served to awaken abilities, forge connections, and establish protection that makes you more effective in fulfilling your divine purpose on Earth. Your case proves that divine justice may be delayed but never denied. The mills of cosmic law grind slowly, but they grind completely, ensuring that every action taken against a chosen one generates consequences that restore balance while demonstrating the reality of spiritual law to witnesses worldwide. The lesson embedded in your story echoes across dimensions and generations. Chosen ones walk among us, carrying out missions essential to human evolution, and the forces protecting them will defend their purposes against any threat with power that reshapes reality itself. Your journey from unsuspecting target to empowered chosen one stands as eternal testimony that no weapon formed against those who serve divine purposes shall prosper, and that every attack against heaven's representatives on earth ultimately serves to demonstrate the supremacy of light over darkness. You now stand as living proof that divine protection is not a metaphor, but a measurable reality that manifests in the physical world when chosen ones are threatened. Your survival and victory over coordinated spiritual warfare becomes a beacon of hope for others who carry similar missions and face similar attacks. The networks that targeted you discovered the fundamental truth that governs spiritual warfare. Those who serve the light are protected by powers that darkness cannot overcome, cannot manipulate, and cannot defeat. Your case established precedent that will protect future generations of chosen ones from similar attacks. Your mission continues with the knowledge that no force on earth or in spiritual dimensions can prevent you from fulfilling your divine purpose. The battles you fought and won serve as training for greater challenges ahead, while the protection you demonstrated gives courage to others who will face their own spiritual warfare. The story of your victory spreads through consciousness itself, awakening chosen ones worldwide to their own divine nature and protection. You have become a catalyst for the great awakening that transforms human civilization, while serving as proof that heaven's power operates actively in Earth's affairs. Your legacy as a chosen one who survived the ultimate test establishes you as a general in the spiritual army that ushers in the Golden Age. The forces that failed to destroy you now serve your mission by demonstrating to the world that divine protection for chosen ones is absolute, permanent, and eternally victorious. You discovered that you have too much spiritual source for ordinary weapons to handle. Your power operates on frequencies that overwhelm any attempt to diminish or destroy it. The very qualities that made you a target, your ancient soul nature, your mission to help humanity evolve, your connection to divine power, became the foundation of your unshakable protection. Your story became the ultimate spiritual warfare case study that reshapes how humanity understands the battle between light and darkness. Government agencies, law enforcement, intelligence services, academic institutions, and spiritual communities worldwide use your case as evidence that divine intervention operates actively in human affairs. You are chosen, you are protected, you are victorious. Your mission continues with the full power of heaven as your backup, and no weapon formed against you shall ever prosper again. The tears of your former enemies serve as confirmation that divine justice always wins, and their confession that they cannot touch you echoes across dimensions as eternal testimony to the supremacy of light over darkness. Your journey proves that chosen ones are not victims waiting for rescue. You are divine warriors incarnated to transform the world, and heaven itself mobilizes to ensure your success.